Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, but before that? He was a combat pilot flying deadly missions over Korea, ejecting from a crashing jet at 500 feet. And surviving what most pilots couldn't, but there's one mission that changed everything. A moment in the cockpit that almost ended his life, and without it? He'd never have commanded Apollo 11. What happened up there? Neil Armstrong is known for walking on the moon, but most people don't know this. Before he became an astronaut, he was a fighter pilot, Korea. 1951. Armstrong was just 20 years old, flying a Grumman F-9F Panther jet. Low and fast over enemy territory. His mission? Destroy bridges, bomb supply lines. Survive. He flew 78 combat missions in total, each one could have been his last. The North Koreans had anti-aircraft guns everywhere. Waiting. On his sixth mission, something went terribly wrong. Armstrong was flying at 500 feet, racing toward his target. Suddenly, his jet hit a cable stretched across the valley. It ripped off 6 feet of his right wing. The plane started spinning, losing altitude fast. He had seconds to decide: eject or try to fly it back. But what he did next? Nobody expected it. And it would save his life in ways he didn't know yet. Armstrong didn't eject immediately. Instead, he did something most pilots wouldn't try. He fought to control the damaged jet, wrestling with the stick. Fighting the spin somehow, he got it level, flying on 3.5 wings. But he couldn't land it on the carrier, too unstable, too dangerous. So he nursed it back toward friendly territory. Every second, the jet shook violently, metal screaming, hydraulics failing. He was flying a machine that wanted to die. Finally, he reached South Korean airspace. Time to get out. Armstrong pulled the ejection handle. The canopy blew off. The rocket seat fired, launched him into the sky. He floated down into a rice paddy, alive. Barely. But here's what's interesting. That emergency landing? That split-second decision-making? It wasn't just luck. Armstrong had a skill that most pilots never developed. A quality that would later make him perfect for Apollo 11. But we'll get to that. After Korea, Armstrong came home, finished his degree in aeronautical engineering. Became a test pilot, not just any test pilot. He flew the X-15. The fastest plane ever built. A rocket with wings that flew to the edge of space. Armstrong took it to 207,500 feet, almost 40 miles high, where the sky turns black, where there's no air. But on one flight in 1962, something went wrong again. He was coming back down. Too fast. Too shallow. The X-15 started bouncing off the atmosphere, like a stone skipping on water. He flew past Edwards Air Force Base completely, overshot by 40 miles. Most pilots would have panicked, but Armstrong? Ice cold. He calmly turned around, glided back, landed perfectly. His colleagues couldn't believe it. How did he stay so calm? That's when NASA noticed him. They were looking for a different kind of astronaut, someone who could handle the impossible without breaking. 1962. NASA selected Armstrong for the astronaut program. But space was more dangerous than anyone admitted publicly. His first mission was Gemini 8 in 1966. The objective? Dock with another spacecraft in orbit. Sounds simple now. But back then? Never been done. Armstrong successfully docked with the target vehicle, first time in history. Mission accomplished. Right, wrong, suddenly, the spacecraft started spinning. Faster and faster. 0.1 revolution per second. Then faster. Armstrong and pilot Dave Scott were being thrown against their seats, their vision blurring. About to black out. They had minutes before losing consciousness completely. Nobody on the ground knew what was happening. The capsule was spinning so fast it could tear apart. Armstrong had to make another life-or-death decision. The one thing Mission Control told him never to do. He shut down the main thrusters, activated the re-entry system instead. The spinning stopped, but now they had a different problem. A problem that would end their mission early. By using the re-entry system, Armstrong saved their lives. But NASA rules were clear. Once you fire those thrusters, you have to come home immediately. The mission was over. Just 6 hours after launch, some people blamed Armstrong, said he panicked, made the wrong call, but the investigation proved something else entirely. A thruster had stuck open, mechanical failure. Not pilot error. Armstrong had done the only thing that would save them. Once again, his calm under pressure had worked, that same quality he showed over Korea. And in the X-15. NASA took notice. They needed someone unshakable for the biggest mission ever, landing on the moon. But here's what most people don't realize: Armstrong almost didn't make it to Apollo 11. There was another close call. This one during training on Earth, and it nearly killed him just months before the moon landing. A test that went horribly wrong. In a machine that was supposed to prepare him. May 6, 1968. Armstrong was training in the Lunar Landing Research Vehicle, basically, a flying bedframe, designed to simulate landing on the moon. It was one of the most dangerous machines ever built. Pilots called it the flying bedstead, others called it a death trap. Armstrong lifted off, hovering about 100 feet up. Everything seemed normal. Then the vehicle started tilting. Losing control, the helium pressure dropped. Thrusters failed, the machine flipped sideways. Heading straight for the ground, Armstrong had less than 2 seconds. He ejected at the last possible moment. His parachute opened. Barely. He landed hard but alive. The vehicle smashed into the ground and exploded behind him. He walked back to his office. Didn't say much about it, just went back to work like nothing happened. His colleagues were stunned. Most men would have been shaking for days, but Armstrong? He was reviewing flight data that afternoon. That's when NASA knew for certain he was the one. July 20, 1969. Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were descending toward the moon. Everything had gone according to plan until it didn't. Alarms started blaring inside the lunar module, program alarms. 12:02, then 12:01. The computer was overloaded. Mission Control had seconds to decide: abort or keep going. They told Armstrong to continue. But then Armstrong looked out the window. They were headed straight for a crater filled with boulders the size of cars. The automatic landing system was taking them into a death trap. Armstrong had to take over manually. He grabbed the controls, started flying the lunar module like a helicopter, searching for a safe spot, but there was a problem: fuel was running out fast. Mission Control watched the fuel gauge dropping. 60 seconds of fuel left. Then 30 seconds. If they didn't land in the next few seconds, they'd crash or run out of fuel trying to abort. Either way, Armstrong and Aldrin would die. Armstrong stayed completely calm. He'd been here before. Korea. Gemini 8. The bedstead. He spotted a clear area. Guided the module toward it. The fuel gauge hit 20 seconds. Then 10 seconds. Mission Control held their breath. The lunar module's legs touched the surface, dust everywhere. Then silence. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Armstrong's heart rate? 150 beats per minute. Everyone else in Mission Control? Through the roof. He'd done it, landed with less than 30 seconds of fuel remaining. All those years of training. All those close calls. Korea. The X-15. Gemini 8. The bedstead crash. Every single one had prepared him for this exact moment. Without that combat experience over Korea, he might have panicked when the alarms went off. Without nearly crashing the X-15, he wouldn't have known how to glide a spacecraft with failing systems. Neil Armstrong didn't just walk on the moon. He survived his way there. One life or death decision at a time. Neil Armstrong's journey from combat pilot to the first man on the moon was a luck. Every close call prepared him for Apollo 11's success. Korea taught him survival, test flights taught him control. The 1969 moon landing changed history forever, but it was those dangerous missions that made him ready. You want more famous astronaut stories? Hit subscribe, drop a comment below. Which space mission should we cover next? Thanks for watching.